We sometimes don't know where to start. What are the habits that we need to create? What would you advise to start creating these small steps of habit to start with this process?
Develop the habit of listening to your body first and foremost, because snow won't do you any good if you're not listening to your body. And the cue that you really need to listen is if you're leaning in, if you're feeling hurt or angry, if you notice you're about to say something from a point of view of being hurt or angry or frustrated, whatever, to notice your body and then just do this no moment. Just stop. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Just stop.
So please grab a cup of coffee or tea, get comfortable, and enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Brilliantly Branded podcast.
So hello and welcome one more time to the Brilliantly Branded podcast. Today I'm joined by a woman whose work in emotional mastery, embodiment, neuroscience. She's helping others as well break through self-doubt and rediscover their purpose. I think is a very, very, very important part of ourselves to have the opportunity to know more details about how that works and how she's doing. She's the author as well of a book that mix science and personal transformation and these practical tools that create this clarity, resilience, and identity as well. In this episode, we are going to discuss how the emotional intelligence can reshape even your personal brand. This is about branding, but as well is part of empowerment and part of getting together to understand what is happening, how we can become better in what we are doing. So I want to give a big welcome to Andrea Isaacs. So I will love you to introduce yourself, let us know a little bit more about you, and please start.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you. So yes, even though I am founder of the Emotional and Life Mastery Institute, life wasn't always easy for me because I grew up painfully shy and I didn't really know how to be in life. What's expected? Who am I? Why am I? What's the meaning of life? And what's my purpose? I had no idea about any of that. And so when I went to college for the first time, I didn't know what to major in. I didn't know why I was there. It didn't answer my questions like, what is the meaning of life? I'll summarize the long story short is I put myself on a journey to answer those questions. And it's because it was so important to me. And I thought, you know what? I bet this is important to other people too. And then people started asking me, how did you do this? How did you get to be like that? Prompted me to really create my business. And because my passion is to change people's lives so they can believe in all that they are, which really is the essence of branding, knowing who you are and totally embodying the meaning of that.
Yeah, that is true. And actually, when we are trying to find this purpose, that is very important. Actually, is this, let's say, roadmap that is defining our life. And I am very curious to know when it was this moment, or maybe you can bring us to that moment specifically, when you felt that you have lost your purpose.
My goodness. Well, I want to, if I may, just describe two moments, because one is when I realized I didn't have one. It was when I went to college and I had no idea why I was there. And so I dropped out. It was temporarily. I didn't know at the time because what was more important was finding answers to these questions. And I traveled. And when I traveled, actually, let me back up. When I dropped out, I got a job working for the head of the dance department, a world previously I had no idea existed. And when I was doing improvisation, I felt for the first time in my life, I was at home in being me. And it wasn't me doing this improvisation. I felt like a channel, like something was moving through me that inspired me to do all kinds of unexpected things. And I was a great improviser. I had no idea. And this is really key because there's something about when you're that at home in life, that really is an indication about your life purpose. Anyway, so I made enough money to travel and I did. And on my travels, I put together, it actually was a moment in meditation on top of a mountain overlooking the Pacific coast that I had. It was like being struck by a flash of lightning. And I had these moments like a couple of other times in my life where all of a sudden I woke up and this realization came to me. I could combine the things I'd been doing that I was loving, the creativity of at homeness when I was improvising, the exhilaration of jogging, the peace and harmony of meditation, and the creativity of yoga. I thought all these things together, I want that experience in life. And I thought that being a dancer would give me that. So I finished my travels and went back and talked to Ollie. Ollie was the head of my department. And I told him this. And he said, well, you and I both know you have to pass an audition to get in. And we both knew that that would have been impossible at the time. And he said, but I'm curious about you. I want to know what you're going to do with this. And so I think your humanitarian qualities are as important as how well you point your toe. And so I'm going to let you in on a trial basis. And of course, it all worked. I ended up graduating. I had a bachelor's and master's in dance. I had my own dance company. And my passion became finding that experience of total embodiment and connection to your higher self. And I expressed that through dances with my dancers embodying that emotional state on stage. And so it was authentic and powerful. So my background in embodying emotion was something that saved my life and gave me sort of access to my emotional capacity and expanding it. And then after 20 some years in this career, I had a career-ending injury and a loss of my life purpose. And the same questions arose, like, who am I now? All my friends were in that world. My social life was in that world. My activities, everything was in that world. And it was gone. And that's when I came across this personality system called the Enneagram. Ennea means 9 in Greek, and it describes 9 different personality styles. And I understood for the first time why I had been so painfully shy. And I dove headfirst into a training program, a week-long training program, sitting on my butt for 12 hours a day, getting great information, pour it into my head, and I just wanted to embody it. I knew that that was an important method of learning, and I thought, surely this exists. And it did.
No, that
So I
is
created
amazing.
one. And so it was another version, another opportunity, I should say, to go deeper into my life purpose, because I combined the language of the body, which I knew from my dance background, with the language of the Enneagram, which is an introduction to the language of emotion, and I put them together. And
Yeah,
together,
right.
it's such a fast, easy, quick, and efficient way to create a new neural pathway for a new way of being.
Yeah, yeah. What I see, Andrea, and thank you for sharing your path, no? Because this is, as you well said, long story short, it's, how you are summarizing how you arrive where you are right now. And part of the thing is how we are not having the opportunity to discover what is our purpose in life. So you are doing this across the embodiment, across the Enneagram, and across many different tools that people can have opportunity to learn, to experiment it. And actually, part of the things is how we are trying to bring and build this purpose from ourselves. So from your point of view, actually, what purpose really means for someone that will have to start defining that from scratch?
There are a few things. One is to recognize in your body when you have that experience of being connected to something outside yourself, of being at home in the world, of feeling safe to be you, to be all that you are. It's a memory I want people to really establish, to memorize that feeling. And every time it arises, notice it. And eventually it will point you to your purpose. And sometimes, as I'm sure you know, we need some guidance with that. And so in my EQ quiz, I can see your unique combination of gifts that point to your purpose, and also your unique combination of challenges that have held you back from either clarity about it or living it. And then in my coaching, of course, we break down those blocks so that what happens is, I don't tell them what your purpose is, but your purpose is revealed. And suddenly you recognize you have that body sense experience, and you've unblocked the blocks, and suddenly the path becomes clear.
So we should be actually paying more attention on what our body is telling us in certain point.
Yes, because, embodiment, there's people talk about body wisdom and physical intelligence. It's not the kind of physical intelligence like an athlete. That's a kind of physical intelligence. Absolutely. Your body carries a message. It tells you when you're angry, when you're hurt, when you're happy, when you're in love, when you feel connected to someone. It's always giving you information. And if we block it out, which as adults we often do, kids are so free in their bodies and in their self-expression. They don't hold back most of the time. And they have an innate body intelligence they can't help it to express. And if we free ourselves and allow those messages to come forward, we get a whole new world of information that we didn't allow in previously.
Yeah, and let's build another question based on that, because we have a lot of tools today outside on the internet that we can learn many things. But
Absolutely.
actually, what are those things that we can really start learning? For example, coming back to your body and how read the signals on your body. Probably my question is a little bit more specific. If that was what makes you rebuild your identity and your purpose back when you realize that across your body you receive those messages, or how that happened?
So here's an example of one of my clients who had been in the corporate world, a corporate trainer for his whole career. He knew he used to love it, and he didn't love it anymore. And he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. So in our work together, I saw some of the blocks. Actually, here's a common block to recognizing our purpose. And I know I have seen this in their quiz results, which points to this fact, which is so many coaches are here to be of service, right? They're here to be there for other people. They know what their clients need, and they are of service, which of course is a beautiful quality. And if we think about the neural pathways that we have, neural pathways are messages from our brain to our body, from our body to our brain. And we have one for every thought, feeling, or action we've ever done. And those patterns that we've experienced a lot get really strong, like our muscles get bigger and stronger when we work out, right? These neural pathways also get bigger and stronger when they're repeated. They do their reps also. So one of the scores points to the fact that someone who's been of service to others so beautifully has a neural pathway that goes from them outward to others that's very strong and well developed. And then there's what I call the gift gone wrong, which is simply too much of a good thing, because the neural pathway that goes in the other direction, that goes to their heart, that says, what do I want, is not as well cultivated. It's not as practiced. It's not as much experience, which meaning they haven't done the reps, and that's either not there or it's very weak and hard to hear. And it often, I would say like 99.99999% of the time, it goes back to early life and the early life imprints that we get. A message something like, it's more important to be here for your siblings. You're the oldest, you got to take care of them. Or I don't have time for you. Your needs don't matter. You're selfish to have needs. And so what happens is if a little kid has a want or a need and it's not met, it's really hurtful. And so it's safer to push it down, dampen that voice, and not want. It's safer to not want, because then you won't be hurt by not getting it. And so we learn to not want. We smother it and think that it's more important to be there for others. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. It's beautiful. But what happens, we pay a cost. The cost is not knowing what we want anymore. It's simple things like, where do you want to go for dinner? Oh, I don't care, wherever you want to go. Or where am I going in my business? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not clear. I don't know I'm not sure. It's the same thing that manifests in so many different ways, from small ways to huge, really big ways. So when that's present, I used to say there's one thing that has to change, which is to create the neural pathway for a new way of being. And that often works. When it doesn't work, then I say there's two things that have to happen. And the next important, essential thing is that early life wound has to change. So what happened with this person, my client I was telling you about, who didn't know what his purpose was, I saw that score that he didn't know, for good reason. He didn't know what he wanted. He had smothered the voice of his heart's longing. So we went back, we did a process that went back in his early childhood, and it healed that early wound. And then there was room for a new neural pathway. And he realized, his passion was to preservation of nature. And he went to Nature Conservancy, and he really dedicated his life to that. And it just, his heart is lit up because he was listening to it.
Very, very interesting. And that is just connecting me with the fact that you need to listening to yourself, and this conversation that you are having to yourself every day. But even most importantly about this conversation is how you really pay attention to all these voices, because sometimes what I'm realizing is that you have these conversations inside yourself and you don't pay attention. You just take that for granted and you say, no. You put the example of the restaurant. I mean, okay, do you want to go there? No, I don't want, but I have to say yes. And I think that repetition, that it was another thing that you mentioned, is what makes us the experts. So this internal conversation, if we have a negative internal conversation, we are practicing and repeating that so much that then guess what is going to happen with our lives. I mean, this is the message that I got with this conversation, more or less. And basically, I saw that you have been creating something called emotional mastery blueprint. That is actually a tool that you use to support all those processes. So how that works and how people could have opportunity to use it.
Yeah. The Emotional Mastery Blueprint is the results of your EQ quiz, which is available at eqquiz.com. You get the whole Emotional Mastery Toolkit when you get there. The toolkit, let's see, there are many things in the toolkit. The blueprint, there's an interpretation guide, there's a video, and so on. But the blueprint itself reveals your unique combination of gifts in, I would say, 18 areas. The Enneagram itself has 9 types. And so each type has a gift. And so there's an opportunity to reflect on your gifts in these 9 areas. Each type also has a challenge. And so you have an opportunity to reflect on how you experience, whether you do or not, and how strongly you experience each of those as well. So I see the results of that. And the blueprint reveals what I was saying before, your unique combination of gifts and challenges that really allow you to connect, to align with your purpose, to connect to it, and to live your purpose.
This tool is available publicly. I mean, people just go to the website and they can doing it, and the results are readable, or the results is like at the medical results that you are saying. I think so. Why is that?
It's a little of each. And I'll explain why I say that. It's a little of each. So you immediately get your blueprint. If you know the Enneagram system, you have an idea of what it means. But even people who really know it don't get the full understanding. There is an interpretation guide that gives you a little more insight, even whether you know it or not. You get a little insight. Oh, the green means your gifts and the red is a challenge, and they start to understand. However, what I've learned in looking at 10,000 blueprints, it's a lot of blueprints.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really like the idea of an automated description they say, so this is your type and this, whatever. It's too narrow. Because when I talk to people, I realize, oh, this score impacted that score, which impacted that. No wonder this is happening. There's a domino effect. And there's no generic interpretation that will explain all the possible dominoes. And so included in the toolkit is a call with me. In the call, I talk about how I see the domino, and there's what I call the first domino, which, if you picture a bunch of dominoes standing up, if you go like this in the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
They all fall down. Yeah. So in your blueprint, I could see what is probably your first domino, which we could stand up, and then everything else stands up, and it changes everything because there's a domino effect that's uplifting, not just always, downward.
Exactly. I think it's a lot of education around that, because as I said before, it's a lot of education tools outside, but really how to apply this to your life is probably the most important part. And for our audiences, one of the things I want to come back that is a very interesting topic is the embodiment. So how we really start to shift our beliefs, for example. And I don't know if you have a simple exercise that you can share with us, because, I always like to, across my guests, to continue giving value to this community and practices what you are saying, because sometimes people don't know how to do that and they are dreaming, that persons have a lot of knowledge, very wise, but how can I practice that in my daily life? So if you can share this with us, it would be amazing.
Yeah, I sure have one. I've used it a million times. There's an acronym. It's SNOW, SNOW. Okay. And I'll describe the 4 steps to SNOW with a personal example. The first step is stop. And you know what? If you listen to your body and you notice you're angry and you're hurt, what's the feeling in your body? For me, here's the story. I was about to go on stage to give a talk, and a colleague was, quote, helping me. And he did something that was like really messed up the whole thing. And we couldn't do a dress rehearsal, blah, blah, blah. And I had a break. And I was so angry. My body was like contracted. What's kind of fun about this is when you exaggerate, and that's part of listening to your body, you have to turn up the volume, which means to exaggerate it even more, because then you get it. Oh, that's what I'm doing to myself. So I realized I turned up the volume and I was like this and I exaggerated. And I thought, oh, I don't like that feeling. So as a stop, I had to stop. I didn't say anything to him at the time. I stopped. I went home. I had time to change my clothes, etc. And I said, I can't go on stage feeling like this. And so I noticed my body, and that's when I did the contraction. I stopped. It brings me to the next letter, N. N is to notice. And I noticed the contraction in my heart. I was so hurt. And so I exaggerated it. And that's when I realized, oh, the hurt led to anger. And I just like let it have a voice in a ritual space where there's no real life consequences. And then SNO, always to do the opposite. So instead of contracting my heart, I realized, well, I really cared about this person. And gradually my heart center started to open. The contraction relaxed. And there was ease and there was a gentle quality emerging in my heart. I felt a connection to this other person. He was trying to help. Oh, and I breathed, because they always to do the opposite. And then there I was, this open-hearted, embodiment. And then I went on stage. I did my talk, which went great, and then we got together afterwards. And here comes the next letter, SNOW. What happened next? And W stands for wow. Watch what happens. So instead of my going at him with, you did this and it was wrong and you hurt me, instead of that, I was just present. And you know what? What happened next really surprised me, because he started the conversation. He said, you know what? I'm so sorry that I did X, Y, and Z. And I had these 5 points I was going to tell him, right? But I was relaxed and I was open. He mentioned every single point and apologized for each of them. I was like, wow, I had no idea it would be that good.
This is so valuable, Andrea. And I just wanted to summarize the SNO with the S, stop, and for notice, for doing the opposite, and you to the wow moment with what you are receiving after doing this process. This is so valuable. And I think that this is practicing resilience as well. Yeah. And instant resilience. That is basically what you are doing across that. So do you think that this is a way to really get it into changing your emotions, or how you will define this?
Oh gosh, so many ideas prompted in my mind in hearing you say that. My work is about choice. It's about knowing that you can choose your emotions. And that's really key. We have the ability to choose our emotions. And what makes it easier to choose them, if we expand our emotional capacity, in other words, instead of just being like, contracted, do I have the ability to be open, calm, and peaceful no matter what? Yes, I can train that. I can strengthen that neural pathway when we know we have the choice and we're willing to be flexible. The other thing I wanted to say about resilience, I had a really good example of this yesterday, because the technology behind my back end of my whole business, something happened in the code and things crumbled. And I was freaked out. And there was no one I could be angry at. It was the code just broke, right? And I just didn't know what to do with myself. And so I breathed and I gave myself a moment to be upset. And then I breathed and I had to choose. Go through what I had to do next in that angry, freaked out, anxious way. Or I could calm down. I can't change what happened. I can change who I'm being while I decide what to do next. And when I did that, who do I need to be in order to manage this? And then a possibility arose and realized, oh, that's a really good idea. I was wanting to do that anyway. Oh, I know how to do that. Okay. And I'm in gear and it's happening. That's resilience. It's the ability to notice and allow. We have moments of being justifiably hurt, angry, resentful, whatever. Yes. Yeah. And it's fine. It's okay to notice that. And then be mindful of how you express it. Because when we express our hurt or anger from that perspective, things don't go well.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, resilience is about knowing you have and how to have a choice in your emotions.
That is very well connected and very well explained. Thank you, Andrea. And I will like to start to wrap up in the sense that we need to put this in practice, right? But we sometimes don't know where to start. What are the habits that we need to create? So what would you advise our audiences in order to start creating these small steps of habit to start with doing this process?
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to go back to what we talked about a little earlier, which is snow. Develop the habit of listening to your body first and foremost, because snow won't do you any good if you're not listening to your body. And, the cue that you really need to listen is if you're leaning in, if you're feeling hurt or angry, if you notice you're about to say something from a point of view of being hurt or angry or frustrated, whatever, to notice your body and then just do this no moment. Just stop. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Just stop. And then turn your awareness inward and notice the feeling. What's the feeling in your heart? What's the feeling in your jaw? How is your breath? Is your energy strong or is it really gentle? And then continue noticing your body, doing the opposite, and then wait and watch. And watch what happens next.
Yeah. It's
I could play
shifting
to my
our own.
I had so many snow moments, you wouldn't believe it.
I love it. It's really managing our own energy and be aware about what is happening with us and what we are triggering by external things or internal triggers sometimes as well. I think have been amazing the episode, with you sharing your experience and sharing this exercise that is people can start practicing right away. I have to say thank you, Andrea, for being here. I don't know if you wanted to add something else for our community of empowering people in general.
I want you all to know that you are unique and your presence matters, and it's time to believe in all that you are, to let yourself really shine. It's your time. If not now, when?
That is wonderful, Andrea. Thank you very much for sharing this with us and for being here in the Brilliantly Branded podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'm grateful by having you as a listener on this episode. I am in the mission of empowering thousands of women around the globe, and I need your support for that. Help me to spread the voice by sharing this episode and subscribe to our social media channels. And remember, if you want to listen to exceptional stories and have someone that inspires you, please get in touch with me because I would love to have them as a guest to learn from their experience and share their story with you next time. So until the next episode, ciao, ciao.